pretty surreal when this opportunity came to both of us. We were thinking, wow, this is going to be life-changing. What's up, everybody? Nate Sarantino here, back with another episode of the Freethinkers Emergence Podcast. And with me today is my good friend, my editor for the podcast, my homie for life, Jordan Wilson. Welcome back to another episode. Nice to see you.
How we doing?
Doing great. You know what's up.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to finally talk about it. I've hinted at this for a little bit here, and it's time for you guys to hear, because by the time this comes out, I will be on my way over there, and that is, I am going to be moving to LA at the end of the month, specifically leaving at the beginning of November. So, with that being said, I guess you're going to be moving there too, ain't that right?
I am, yeah. Not anything related to you, but different circumstances are bringing me out there as well. You know, God's plan going in action.
Real shit. Dude, it's pretty wild when you're making moves yourself and then all of a sudden, like, more people are headed out there. It was really funny.
Literally, it was like not even 2 weeks after you're like, yo, I'm moving to LA. I get a text, and I'm just like, I got given this opportunity, like, yo, do you want to move to LA? And I was like, geez, like, it's not a coincidence because it just wouldn't happen like that. But.
Yeah, dude, when the person you're moving to LA with, when I first found out, because me and Jordan we know like the same people. I work for his grandfather doing flooring, and basically that's how I met Jordan in the first place. I learned about his who was moving to LA, and I was like, all right, yo, that's cool. And this was before I even knew I was going to be moving there. Yeah. And then I realized, wow, that was God foreshadowing what was going to happen with me. Because so I should say this, me and Breno, my friend who is the owner of Unitary, and he's the personal stylist of multiple people now, and you know, we were both like, our dreams have been pretty stagnated here on the Northeast, and we can make a lot more happen out there. Specifically for me, this is where I'm hoping to network and find my way into public speaking gigs, paid speaking gigs, and really advance my podcast and grow as a person.
I think it's definitely the right move for you. There's not a lot of people here with similar views and everything to what you have, and I'm not saying it's an unpopular thing here, but it definitely isn't the most popular and not the common thing for people to have the same lifestyle. Whereas over in LA, there's definitely a lot larger of a group that your target demographic. There's a lot more out there than there is here, and I think that'll definitely be a big change that is for the better. For you, especially, and for the podcast.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think it's going to be great. Back when I was applying to UVM, I was debating on applying to two other schools, UVM, Penn State, and University of Southern California. And USC, I almost applied there. They had a neuroscience program, and that would have been pretty cool if I would have gone there. However, going to UVM was exactly what I needed to prepare me to go to LA. Now, I know this one girl who goes to USC. I'm really excited to see her when I get to LA, and she was telling me about what it's like to live there, and we just were like catching up because we hadn't talked in a bit, and should be great. I believe going there back when I would have been going to UVM would have been too early, and I think this was all in God's plan for me to prepare by going to Burlington, live on my own for a bit, go through some really traumatic experiences while having no one there to help me.
Definitely.
And then figuring out, okay, now I have identity, self-assurance in my identity, and self-assurance in my purpose in what I want to do as a human being. And this gives me the ability to communicate better, to actually be authentic. You can't be authentic if you don't even know yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, we did a podcast a long time ago that I was actually in. That's the first time that it was announced that I was the editor and everything for it. But in that one, we covered a lot of like my background and a lot of the situation that I was put in and how we how I was bettering myself through all that and always working with like doing the best with what I had. And with this move specifically for me, it gives me an opportunity to go back to school, which I didn't have before. And I think the experience of going back or going to college will definitely give me a lot of experience, and it'll help me find a lot of people who can help me with what I want to do and better myself in that way. And USC is actually one of the schools that I was looking at out there.
Dude,
we haven't even talked about that yet.
No, but that's so awesome, dude. It's a beautiful school, and obviously, if you really want to go, I can connect you with this girl, and she can tell you about it.
Yeah, definitely. It was one of the top schools that I was looking at, definitely. But the main thing moving out there is that opportunity for me going back to school. That'll really help me, and I think it'll get me with a lot of people who can help me with what I want to do in life, both from a business aspect, which is what I want to go study, and from the like the YouTube side and the editing side of things. I want to study at least a couple of classes with that type of thing. And I feel like in LA, definitely will meet a lot of people who can help me better my editing skills and help me with all of that type of thing.
Real. I think so too. It's been pretty surreal. When this opportunity came to both of us, we were thinking, wow, this is going to be life-changing. And these opportunities, I can't imagine passing this opportunity up.
No, definitely not.
Like I look at any other path, like if I was to stay in New Hampshire here and just keep on doing flooring and try to grow my brand, it just wouldn't work. There's no way.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for like 2 years, and I'm growing, but it's super slow, and I have a great foundation now. I've heard this from many people. The East Coast is where you build your foundation. It's what hardens you as a person. And then the West Coast is where you go to actually flourish and build on top of that foundation.
I definitely believe I can see that. It's really interesting because we both got given the same opportunity vaguely around the same time to both work at it together, but it's coming for both of us from two completely different perspectives. Where you're going out there, and I don't want to say it's definitely risky for you. You don't have that safe foundation. You gotta go out there, build it up, and find yourself out there while continuing the progress of everything. And it's definitely it's a more adventurous kind of opportunity for you and from your side of things. Whereas from my side, I'm going to have a set foundation and everything based off the lucky opportunity I was given. And I actually find it really interesting that is kind of reversed roles of what we have here, where I've never had that set foundation, and I've always had to work for a lot of what I've been. I'm not saying you've had anything handed to you, obviously, but me specifically, I've had a lot of things that I've had to work towards, and I've always had to make the better of everything in every situation. 100%. Whereas with you've always you haven't had to do that. You just always have. You've had the steady foundation under you, and that gave you the opportunity to flourish. And I
True.
I find it now that we both, it's interesting that we have this big move now, and we're both going to kind of, in a way, like our roles are going to be reversed to what they were here in a little bit,
Yeah.
where we're both going to have to work, but I'm hopefully going to build on a steady foundation that I've already been blessed to be given, and you're going to have to build that up on your own, which I know you can do, obviously.
Yeah, it's fortunately Breno and I have a great bond, and we're gonna help each other out, and we'll be getting a place together out there, but we have someone to stay with for a little bit once we get there. And we're going to be driving, so we have some people we can stay with across the country and whatnot too. So that's also very nice. It's a very exciting time to be alive. We have wonderful opportunities where in many people's eyes it would be, that's crazy, like you're risking so much, you have so much security here. Security doesn't do it for me. I need to live on the edge. If I get too secure, life gets really boring. And when I get bored, I have to find ways to complicate my life to make it more fun again.
Exactly.
If you play the same video game on easy over and over again, eventually it gets boring, and that's why you turn the difficulty up. Well, that's the same thing with life. You need to, if you're doing the same thing over and over again and it gets too easy, sometimes you have to turn the difficulty up, but you have to do it the right way, and that's where you have to have the right strategy. You have to plan ahead and then execute your plan, but be adept to the change that might happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think a great example of that is you used the video game reference in two of the main games. Like, just as a general example, look at Fortnite, for example. If you look at Fortnite back in 2017, and nobody was nearly as good as they are now, and the game evolved so much from what it started as because people were getting better and better at the game, and it was making it harder for newer people. So you needed to evolve with the game, otherwise you get caught. So just because you were one of the better players in 2017, that doesn't mean that you would be one of the best players now. You need to evolve with the times, and you need to stay with it in order to keep evolving with life. And you always need to keep moving forward. And I get that sometimes, depending on your situation, it can be nice to have that sort of like comfort and just relax and be comfortable, but you never want to stay in that for too long. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind. You're going to fall behind in life, and you're eventually, no matter what you do, if you stay stagnant for too long, you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, dude, stagnation is how you die, really speaking. And the way energy works is it's always moving, and you're always adding or subtracting from your life, whether that be in like adding a negative or subtracting a negative, because if you get rid of negative things, you're actually adding to your life.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're adding negatives, you're subtracting from your life, and the same goes if you're subtracting positives. Like, you want to make sure you have the right people in your life, the right people in your circles.
Yep.
Adding, subtracting, all these things, they're very important.
That's another big thing for me specifically. I don't know how much this affects you, but with the main thing that I was skeptical when this first opportunity was brought to me was because it was briefly mentioned before you said anything about going to LA. I wasn't too sure if it would ever actually evolve to anything and actually be an opportunity for me. But when I first heard about it, I was kind of skeptical based on I didn't know I didn't know personally how well I would go out there and make friends, find these new people and new groups in that type of situation. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't feel, one, I didn't want to be alone, and two, I didn't want to get involved with the wrong people. Whereas now, going out there, there's a strong likelihood that my girlfriend moves out with me, and she goes to Cali with me. and then I'm also going to have you now, and I'm going to have your group, where that I feel like me being there it'll give you a nice sense of what's the word? Nice sense of like
familiarity.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It's like having a family around you, where the family is home. It's not home is home.
Exactly. It'll give you the sense of, oh, I'm used to having this person, and I'm familiar with having this. Whenever, if you ever do get to a point where it's like, oh, I'm just kind of struggling with this, I don't really feel like I have anyone. And I feel like I definitely am somebody who has gone through that in the past. And if it happened out there, I'm less worried about it affecting me having you out there and having my girlfriend if she does come, rather than I would, or supposed to if I was just going out there just in my situation, like how it is. And then I was like, nobody else was going out there. I feel like that's a big step, or a big thing to have that a lot of people maybe undervalue. Because, obviously you can meet new people, but having the people that you've known for a while, it really changes things in my eyes.
I agree with that. I think it's very important to understand who is adding to you and who is subtracting from you, and keep the people around that are bringing you up. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you haven't listened to the episode that we recorded a while back. I don't even know what episode it was, but
I'm gonna look right now. Actually,
it was somewhere. I think it was around episode 80.
I think so too. I think it was.
Excuse me.
Here, I'll find it.
It was on the audio only still. Once we when we had that, and it was good. It was really good. We dropped a lot of information about Jordan's upbringing. That
episode 84.
Yeah,
creation work and relationship talks with Jordan Wilson.
So I got a lot of backlash from his family about talking of backlash because we talked about the real shit that Jordan has been through and the situations of his family. And from then I've decided to stop talking about like specific names. I'm very careful unless I know that person wouldn't care. And then again, people won't care no matter what, but it's still not good to say anything bad about anyone. I think if you don't have something positive to say, don't say anything at all.
Definitely. We that episode we talked a lot about my past. So if you haven't heard it, then definitely go watch that. We also talked just a lot in general about me and Nate and how we met each other, our life growing up, because we've known each other since we were really young, like we said in that podcast.
Basically, yeah.
And it's just one of those things where, I get given what I get given, and I got to make the best of what it is. I'm still in that same kind of situation. And, one of the things we did talk about a lot in that is relationships, which I don't know what your situation's like right now. That's not really, we're close and we can talk to each other about a lot of different things, but we don't really, that's not something that we talk too much about, I feel like.
No. Well, and I've been so focused on personal development for the last few years. Just recently have I started to be more interested in talking to girls, and I've started practicing more game, and it's fun. I love going out and just meeting new women and being like, yo, what's up? How are you? And just shooting the shit and it's fun. It's fun to flirt. It's fun to do all these things. However, I don't think you should be doing these things until you've gotten yourself dialed. Definitely. And I don't care who you are or how good you are at talking to girls or maybe the other way around. Personal excellence has to come first, because if you're not building yourself up and making yourself better, when you get around other people, you're probably going to bring them down. Unless they're also already down, then at that point, it's society. The only way society grows is if the individuals grow themselves.
100%. And in the last episode that we were with, we actually we talked a lot about my relationship at the time, which that has since ended. And looking back on that, it's like I'm fairly certain that at the time things were going pretty well. I was saying that in the podcast, but it's just like through personal development, I realized that relationship wasn't what I wanted for a long term. And now since then I've met my new current girlfriend, and I made sure before getting into that was what I was okay with, like I was comfortable with myself and okay with where I was as a human before getting into a relationship and because I don't want to put any burden that I have with myself onto them, and I don't want to turn my problems into us problems kind of thing. So I've always looked to make relationships, I've always kind of viewed them as a thing to better the good rather than a thing to make the bad okay, kind of.
That's so awesome that you say that, because it's just such it shows the level of maturity in how you've grown in that sense. It's really cool.
Exactly.
I'm glad you said that.
And recently, it's been a main talking point because, like I said, she might be coming to Cali with me, and she's 18, I'm 19. We're at the point in our lives where we do kind of need to start thinking, okay, like it's not a high school relationship anymore. Whereas some people in high school, they'll go into a relationship, be like, okay, yeah, having a girlfriend's fun, but I don't really think this is a long-term thing. And now we're at the point where, like, if she comes to Cali, that's, like, we got to commit to that. Like, me personally, I've never been one to date just to date. Like, I've always dated with the expectation, hey, I'm going to marry this girl. And now it's really being put to the test at that point in my life where it's a big choice to make, moving across the country with somebody, obviously.
Yeah, for real. And I don't have that same perspective because I'm really glad I haven't had a committed relationship like that in a bit, because it allows me to move very freely. I think the freedom of being single is one of the best things you can have as a being.
100%. Yeah. It sucks because I view it like, or it doesn't suck, but I view the same thing as you. Like, I love the freedom of being on my own, not having to worry about being in a relationship and having to worry, it's basically like, what are my actions going to do to affect this person? Like, you don't need to worry about that. But me, I've learned through my relationships that the sacrifices that come with being in a relationship and having to commit yourself, I think that those strongly outweigh the benefits, or the benefits of being in a relationship strongly outweigh the sacrifices you have to make. And like, just me personally, I've always been okay with committing myself to somebody else and getting things in return for doing that.
I 100% agree, where what you put in is what you get back, and that's true in the grand scheme. However, you have to find the right people to surround yourself with. So
Definitely.
When you pour into them, they will pour back into you. And that's why the dynamic of our relationship, and the dynamic between me and Luke, and the dynamic between me and Breno, like, these people, we can pour into each other without ever expecting anything in return, and just see that the other person's going to pour back into us too, because it's love.
Exactly.
It's not just, I'm doing this because I want something from you. I'm doing this because I care and I love you. I care about you and I love you as a human being, as my brother, as my sister, whoever you are. That's just how it be.
Yeah. I feel like these days, a lot of people, especially our age, they're scared to kind of associate people don't like using the term relationship with friendships, where
True.
I feel like every connection, you're building a relationship with somebody.
Agree with that too. There's levels to it.
Exactly. Like, I would say that I've definitely have friendships with some people, and there's a lot of people that I just have a friendship with. But then there's also other people where I've built a lot stronger of a relationship in general with them. And I wouldn't consider those people my friends. I would consider them either, whether you use the term best friend, brother, family, whatever it is, there's like relationship doesn't need to be just used as a term for like, oh yeah, this is the person that I'm having a sexual relationship with. Like that's not what it is to me. And I feel like that's what a lot of people our age don't view. And I feel like that a lot of people could benefit from viewing it like that.
I agree. They get stuck. This is like going back all the way to elementary school, where can boys and girls be friends and just be friends?
Yeah.
And then it's just it gets into that stage where you realize, for me personally, I was adopted from Russia. I was brought here to the U.S., got these beautiful 2 parents here, and they're nothing but mom and dad to me. Mm-hmm. And they're everything, including that mom and dad. I have my sister who was also adopted from Russia, not biologically related, but she's the only sister I'll ever have that's the closest to that. However, I have all these other like guys in my life, and some girls included, who are basically brothers and sisters to me at this point because of how close we are and the brotherhood that I've formed with them, specifically when I'm talking about Jordan, Luke, Breno, and then so on. There's more people, but these are the 3 that really stand out to me right now. And when you start to form relationships that these people you can count on, and they have your back and you have their back, and it gives you a sense of that like family familiarity where you have those connections. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where you moving to LA and feeling like, well, now I have people. Like I have my people.
Yeah.
It's not the lone wolf going out into the forest. It's the pack going out together.
Exactly. And I feel like this example can be greatly used with us, where we both have our groups where, it's not necessarily a weird dynamic. It's just a different dynamic to 2 close friends, where me and you, we've been friends for so long, where we both have our other groups where, say we're going to get food. We're not going to, we usually won't text each other, hey, I'm going here to go grab a quick bite to eat. You want to come with me? I think there's been a few times where we've done that, but that's not typically what we're doing.
No.
And most of the time we text each other is when we either... I'll elaborate on this, so I'm just going to say it like this, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but most of the time we will message each other is when we either need something from each other or when we want to make something with each other.
But that's exactly what it should be.
Exactly, which it's like we don't have that type of bond where it's, oh, let's go do this tiny thing together.
Yeah, we're not hanging out every day.
Yeah, but we also don't have that connection. It's when I say that we only text each other when we need something, it's not in the way of like, hey, I need $20, you got $20 that I can have.
Yeah, it's not using each other. It's actually like the helping and getting each other's back that exactly. I just said.
It's help, it's, hey, I'm feeling down right now. I need something, or I need somebody to talk to. I need somebody to go do this with. You able to do that? Or hey, I want to do this to the podcast. You able to come help swing by and do that for me? We're using our skills and our connections to help each other while also going out of our way to help us in a way where we're helping ourselves by helping the other person.
That's the realest thing that you could have said there. That is literally it. And that's the idea of oneness, where you realize when you're helping other people, you're also helping yourself because you're just a part of them.
Exactly. You helping somebody is just building a connection that will always come back and help you in the end.
Yeah, really, it does.
And a big part of what I realized, or when I realized all this, was going back to how I view some people as a friendship, and then there's also the higher end where it's, hey, you can have a relationship with somebody without it being your boyfriend, girlfriend type thing.
Yep.
And a big part of when I realized this was when I was going through my breakup. This was in March, and there was this one of the people that I would have considered my friends. Me and him, through that, we got way closer and closer, and now it's at the point where we are so close where we will do stuff, just text each other, hey, you want to do this? I'm going to get food. He's at college, so it kind of makes it a little harder because he's about 50 minutes from my house. But I'll go to he goes to University of New Hampshire. I'll go there, chill up there for the night, just hang out with him, watch football on Sundays, and then just go home. Like, I'll go there just purely to hang out with him. And, it's that bond has gotten so close now where we, like I said, obviously I'm going to LA. We're already talking about when you going to come down to LA, when you going to be able to fly out there? You can stay at my house for a week, come back type of thing.
I was literally doing that same thing with one of my homies who moved out to Texas, and he was out in Colorado for a bit, and he ended up going through a tough breakup with his girl, stuff with his old dog, a bunch of things, and he ended up going down to Austin. He's been there for a hot minute now, and I was just telling him, we were just talking either yesterday or the day before, and I was saying, yeah, moving to LA, telling him all the good news, all these things that are going up, and I was like, yo, you should definitely come out here. I want to introduce you to the team and get you on here, because he's super smart. He has skills that he can add, and he needs other people around him who can also help build him up, because I've been seeing him go through the struggles. I've gotten his back a few times when I knew shit was really tight with him, whether it's lending him a couple bucks or being an open ear for someone to talk to. And the same goes for you, the same goes for Luke, same goes for Breno. That's like, whatever that person needs, I will provide if I have that to provide.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I've always been the same too. Like, we've both helped each other the last year through a lot, and I've always been, it's been bad where I used to have the mindset of I care more about other people than I do myself. In a way where I would sacrifice myself in order to make other people better, and if somebody else needed something, I would sacrifice that from myself to give it to them. I'm not necessarily as strongly of that opinion anymore, because I've more realized that I can't sacrifice myself, because eventually I wouldn't have anything to sacrifice if I keep doing that.
Exactly.
And so I've learned I've learned now to try and help as much as I can without breaking myself in the process. And I'd say the only exception to that is definitely in my relationship, where I'm not nearly as bad as I used to, where I would give everything to the point where I had absolutely nothing left to my relationship. Now I definitely have learned a good balance, but I feel like you definitely need to always prioritize yourself over you need to prioritize yourself over others, as brutal as it sounds. And
that's it. No, you're right.
Don't give what you don't have to give.
Yeah, it's you have to save yourself before you save other people, and you can't actually save anyone. You can only teach them how to save themselves.
Exactly.
You don't want anyone to be dependent on you. And a lot of people in the 48 Laws of Power, it teaches you to create that codependency where people need you. But you don't want to have that. You want to be so skilled that you can make it on your own. But once you build with other people, now you are all so skilled. Like, you can do stuff on a computer I could never do. I can do stuff on this podcast and speak in ways that you couldn't do. And together, we can get information out to the world in such an ordered way that they love to watch and listen to it. And it all starts with building yourself up, becoming skilled in a way where when you pour into people, they're going to pour into you just as much. So you don't need to worry anymore about dumping too much into other people.
Exactly.
That's why the people you surround yourself with matter so much.
Yep, and I feel like definitely, specifically going off of the example that you just gave, where you talk way better than I do, and I edit things way better than you do. When we use that to our best, we get the best products, and it even happens sometimes where you're like, me saying something will help you build off of a conversation, and that'll help you start a topic on the podcast if I'm on the podcast with you. Or you'll text me, hey, this idea, I think it would work pretty good, and then I'd try and work that into it, and I think it looks better than what I could have came up with. We're both, even though we both have our expertise and things, we both take each other's opinions and are both still knowledgeable in the other category. And like, I feel like I can talk pretty well, compared to just bringing any normal person in off of the street in here. I feel like and you, obviously, you can edit better than just grabbing any normal human. And I feel like because of that, we both have enough knowledge about the other person's expertise that we can help each other we can help each other when we need to, and when the other person needs an opinion. Yeah. And sometimes we'll surprise each other with an opinion, and it'll give the other person a view of, oh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't, that actually looks pretty good. I would have never thought about that.
Yeah, it's that perspective.
And then it's a different perspective, which helps you evolve your knowledge and evolve into a better person and learn more through that in your expertise, which then brings you even closer to perfection in that field.
100%. Yeah, we're really getting to the point where our mastery is getting so high where to focus on anything else but what you're already really good at is a waste of your time.
Exactly.
And that's when you start making, in financials way of looking at it, you start making so much money doing what you're actually skilled at, where instead of doing the things you're not skilled at, you just pay other people to do it so you can provide more value by doing the things that you're actually good at.
Exactly. And like you said, if you can eventually master what you're good at, you'll be making so much money where every single rich person will tell you this: time is money. And the more time that you have, the more money you will be able to make, and the better off you will be. So if you can get to a point with your master where you can master something so well that you're making so much money based off of it, that you can hire other people to help you do that and to do that for you at a standard where you will be it won't decrease the product of it. You will be better off in the long term because you will be saving yourself time because you've mastered something so well.
Yeah, something I heard, I want to say it's from Alex Hormozy, and he said only hire people who are better than you. Mm-hmm. If you're hiring someone who's worse than you, there's no point.
Exactly. You don't want to hire somebody to do something that you're not gonna, or you don't want to hire somebody to do something that you could do better, because then you're just wasting your resources on a job that you could be providing better. And you want to get the people that will help you out in the things that you aren't successful in, and help you with the other things that can help provide to a big goal that you can't necessarily provide the best opinion for, or best option of.
Yeah, that's also true. I want to bring this up because we talked about this before we got on air. Always moving forward and never being stagnant, and this goes hand in hand with this energy and the currency of relationships, where it's always going to be a give and receive, where you give out and then you get back what you put out. This is the fundamentals to how everything works, whether it's business, health, anything. It's just that what you put out is what you get back. What you put in is what you get out. Mm-hmm. And when you surround yourself with other people who are givers, then when you give to someone who's also a giver, they're going to give back to you. And that's why it's really important to understand people, what their intentions are, and then surround yourself with people who have good intentions for you purely because they just want to see you succeed.
Yeah, and I feel like we've already covered this a little bit, but going back to with like you were saying, you feel like you and Bruno's businesses are stagnant.
Breno.
Oh, Breno, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, you feel like you guys' business are stagnant here, and that there isn't much to do. That's why you're making the big move to LA, where you guys are trying to always move forward, and you don't want to stay stagnant in one place, because like we were saying earlier, stagnancy is just I forget the exact wording you had it.
It's just stagnancy is basically the main thing that will create death.
Right, yes,
It's
and
that
you're constantly adding to your life, whether it's in a positive or a negative way, and stagnancy is just constantly going to be adding negatives towards your point, because you're not going to be adding any positives. It's just going to be staying the exact same.
Yeah.
So, and you don't necessarily need to be adding negative things directly, but by not adding anything positive, you're not going to be bettering anything.
No, and then
and eventually you'll fall behind.
Yeah, if you're not adding, you're subtracting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we covered a lot of that earlier, but
yeah. It's this. It really does come full circle, though, and that's why I think we just ended up there again. Is when you're not adding, you're subtracting. I think it's one of the biggest takeaways of this whole podcast. And then the other thing is relationships. You need to surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed and want you to be better. When you're around, like, your housing situation's really bad, that's why you're moving in the first place, and you need a place where you can flourish. You need a place where you can thrive. You haven't had the ability to thrive in so long because of the way circumstances that were pretty out of your control. And once again, go back to the other podcast we recorded to learn a little more about this, episode 84 you said, right?
Yep.
And that's it. With all this being said,
you definitely want to focus on building yourself up. Don't stay comfortable for too long. And definitely try and always be adding, because it will bring you a long way.
Yeah, the comfort zone is where dreams die.
Exactly.
Real shit. That, speaking of, I'm gonna be, when I get to LA, I'm gonna completely stop drinking alcohol. I've been drinking some beers here and there, and I don't drink often, but I'm not gonna stop myself from having one. And the same goes for smoking weed. Like, I don't smoke very often, but when I want to smoke, I will. And I've been mainly just smoking cigars lately, and just, moving forward. But in LA, I'm going to go sober, and I'm just going to focus on my networking skills and communication skills, podcasting, building, and really this push into this, or I don't even need to push at this point. I just need to flow. I just walk. It's like walking on water. Like you're just gonna be floating.
That's another thing actually that I feel like we should talk about really quickly, is I feel like sometimes people will go in with the mindset of, oh, I don't want to stay stagnant. So they try and go rush straight all into things without really necessarily a plan built under them, or without any mindset behind what they're going into. And I feel like that's a really, you need, just don't take the advice too literal when we're like, oh, hey, you don't want to be stagnant. You want to always be going forward. You want to have a consistency to it, kind of, where you want to build, it's like climbing a mountain. You don't want to, just run up the first half of it, because then by the end of it, you will be dead. You want to have a consistent pace going up the entire time, and that will give you your best chance of success if you stay consistent with it. And I feel like consistency is the most important part of a lot of this, just a lot of life in general, which a lot of people don't get. And they will try and make a lot of large jumps in life and not really take the time to plan things out, just because they feel that they're falling behind.
Yeah, and it's important to build foundation, so when you take those jumps, you have a good base to jump from, and then you also need to give yourself a little footing, or at least see where you can jump to that has a good footing.
Exactly. You don't want to be jumping off of a ladder onto another ladder. Like, it's never going to work out. And obviously people will view the large examples of like success stories where they did take a big risk, a big jump, but nobody ever looks at the hundreds of thousands of people that failed doing that. And people need to view, I've always viewed this specifically, consistency has been the most important part of my life from my point of view. There's been a lot of things that have been inconsistent when it comes to whether the situations I've been put in or the hand I've been dealt. But I have always done my best to be consistent with what I'm doing, consistent with my goals, and I've always wanted to build forward at a consistent rate rather than build forward in one large leap. Yeah. And I feel like that is one reason why I've been set up so well and why I have the mindset that I do at at the point in my life I am. And I just think it's a good base that I've built myself, and hopefully I shouldn't say hopefully, because I believe that this is a good point in my life where I feel like the consistency is going to start to pay off, and I'll start to see the dividends of that.
Yeah, I agree. That was great.
It was.
Got anything else to add before we end this?
Takeaway point, stay consistent, and fuck, man, I don't know. Just stay consistent.
Yeah.
Be true to yourself, surround yourself with good people, and stay sober, kids.
Yeah. Sobriety is helpful. It really is. Trying to get work done, like, I've never understood anyone who, like, smokes weed while trying to work or stuff. Like, I just don't think that works. Like, I'm not a big fan of, like, smoking before going to the gym, stuff like that. I've been smoking cigars because the main effect I get from it is increased blood flow and boost of testosterone and the ability to put more energy into the things that I'm doing. I can even be more present in the things that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So those are like my main things with that. But everything else is just kind of unless intentions are always going to be everything, and then surround yourself with people who have good intentions.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think that's about all I have. Stay true to yourself, really. And yeah, this has been good. If you haven't, make sure to go check out that first episode. We went a lot more in detail to the kind of the darker side of things in a way.
Yeah, for real. And you might get a glimpse at where Jordan came from and what he started with. And
definitely
there'll be another podcast in the future when
we got to get one
when we're doing
LA.
Well, yeah, when we'll be doing better, and we'll talk about what you came from again, and we'll go to where we got, and we'll like where we're gonna be, because I know things are about to get really good in LA.
Definitely.
So
yeah,
that's why we're going out there in the first place, is like the growth opportunity we have.
Oh yeah, once I get settled out there, I'll definitely reach out to you. We'll record another one, and then who knows, maybe we'll get one more done at some point before we get out there, but that's less likely.
Yeah, it's I think the date's like the 19th right now, the 20th.
19th, yeah.
19th. So I'm leaving in 2 weeks.
We'll see how it goes. If the universe wants us to get another one in, it will. But
really,
definitely, yeah. Go check me out on platforms, YouTube channel.
Yeah, what's your YouTube channel?
It's Mindtrix, MINDTRIXX. Same thing on Twitch, just with 8811 at the end of it. And yeah, I don't really post too much anymore, but when I do, it's a banger. So I put a lot of effort into that shit.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's always going to be quality over quantity.
Oh, yeah.
And then this consistent quality is where you start to really get dividends back.
Yep.
Anyways,
this This was
Jordan,
good.
thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. And with that, my name is Nate Sarantino. This was Jordan Wilson, and this was the Free Thinkers Emergence Podcast.
Peace.
Peace.